Hello and welcome back. You've obviously noticed some changes around here. Well, this, as well as this painting back here. Anyways, you're going to love this. A 6-cylinder round revolver from the 1850s. Well, enough sightseeing. Sorry about that. But welcome to the old Western movies, a definitive movie genre from the Great Train robbery up to the modern day. But I'm going to primarily focus on his golden years. But which one should I start off with? Or who should I start off with? I know, Mary and Robert Morrison, or as we all know him as. If you know who John Wayne is, you'll be asking yourself one question. Does he kill anybody? Well, of course he does! So here comes The Big Trail, which was released back in 1930. In fact, John Wayne was only 23 at this time, and this was his first major role. Unfortunately, this movie was mostly forgotten up until the 1980s, and the original negative was not in good shape. So some of the footage and music are quite bad. Ugh. Well, luckily some chap decided to do a frame-by-frame reproduction of it. And here begins our movie legend John Wayne in The Big Trail. The movie opens with a bunch of settlers in the Mississippi that are heading west towards California. Oh, just a quick fact, this was originally called the Oregon Trail, but... Sorry. Let me tell you, this movie wastes no time getting to the good part. John Wayne makes an appearance in... now.
Hey, man, Rick, cool. How are you, Zeke? Well,
That's funny. Watches don't exist in this time period. So, our hero named Brett Coleman, played by John Wayne, is a young trapper who just got back from a trail near Santa Fe.
But it's a long, tough pull from here. 2,500 miles away you'd have to go.
how many people settled on now?
It's Indian country. Except for the trappers, never a white man has left his track there.
Hey, mister, will you tell me this? Hey there! Since you all elected me the Hiku of this outfit, let me do the talking.
It's everything a Missourian's heart could crave. There's 2 snow-capped mountain ranges with peaks lost in the sky. And between them ranges, men, is a great valley. Lakes and streams everywhere.
He then visits Marion Riggs, who is his girlfriend-ish? I couldn't really tell you who she is because she never shows up after this scene. We then cut to an old steamboat where we meet the real love interest, Ruth Cameron. Even more important, we meet Bill Thorpe, who is in love with her. Aww. You can probably see where this is going. In fact, this is a good setup for a great story. Well, it's decent, but it does have its flaws. For instance...
Say, you used the fella I want to see. I want to play some more of that shell game.
In fact, I'm going to put a pointless comedy scene in this corner. So Bill Thorpe is caught gambling by the comic relief's mother-in-law. And he's kicked off the boat. After another pointless comedy scene, we cut back to Miss Cameron, who is apparently visiting Mrs. Riggs from the orders of a captain. Brett Coleman shows up at the same house, who mistakes her for Marion Riggs.
What do you mean by...
Oh, I thought... It was this way, ma'am. I thought you...
Oh, 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 Just an unpleasant occurrence.
I'm going to explain that play.
There's nothing to explain.
But I'm going to tell you anyhow.
It seems to me you're forcing yourself on this lady.
Is that how it seems to you?
How else can I take it?
It's nothing to me how you take it. But it matters a heap to me, ma'am, how you understand.
Perhaps not. But if it concerns Miss Cameron, I'll demand an explanation.
You will? Then speak your piece.
Mr. Thorpe, will you please take me to my brother?
With pleasure. I'll be looking for you shortly.
Well, I won't be hard to locate.
Since we established our first three important characters, I would like to tell you about our main side character, Zeke. Who is he again? Are we all good? Brett Coleman hangs out with Zeke and his buddies.
Hey, Jack. I've been telling you about this here boy Coleman. He can heave a knife into a mark so big every time.
Whoa! Ooh. Ooh. So Coleman explains to Zeke that a friend or something of his was murdered along the Santa Fe Trail last winter. It also happens that our hero suspects that both of the murderers happen to be there. Now that we know who the bad guys are, I will sum up the next 13 minutes. Bill Thorpe decides to travel with the settlers and he becomes friends with bad guy number 2 and number 3, whose names are Lopez and Flack by the way, because he was caught gambling earlier. Coupled with a few more comedy scenes again, but this time it's random duck sounds.
With it with your mouth? Ah, that's old stuff. Dad knows something you... Coyote, eh? There's no coyote. Yes, there's stuff. Ah!
And of course our hero meets the villain face to face to discuss who is leading the trail, but Coleman does not know for sure if he is the murderer. There's one more thing I have to say, and that's Red Flagg's acting. And that it is way over the top.
Another thing. Am I supposed to be wet nurse to them wooden-head pilgrims? Appears to me you do your shooting by daylight with too many people looking on, eh? Maybe she won't talk with him, but she'll dance with him, eh? What do you suppose I grubstake you for, eh? So far you've been a fizzle.
Anyways, after the settlers pray, it's time for them to head west.
Pull out! Pull out!
Along the way, Brett Coleman tries to make it up to Miss Cameron, which immediately fails, but he also talks to Zeke about Thorpe. They both start to...
Wonder what he come along for.
Thanks for that. Next, we have a dancing scene. Coleman finds out that Flack and Lopez are friends because they lied about it earlier. There's more disputes between Thorpe and the protagonist for Miss Cameron. Pretty much our hero is now a target for our villains.
Remember this, the three of you. I'm not your friend.
Then our hero decides to say a long, boring, and pointless goodnight romantic speech to his love interest.
Lord knows, I love it. Especially now that it's spring and everything's so happy. Why, there's trees out there, big tall pines, just a-reaching and a-reaching, as if they wanted to climb right through the gates of heaven. And there's brooks, too.
We also have even more comedy scenes. You know what? I'm gonna wait to the end of the review to count how many scenes like this are in the movie. Brett Coleman goes hunting for buffalo, so Red Flag sends Lopez and Thorpe to kill him. They miss. Instead, they hit Coleman's saddle and apparently his horse died by snapping its neck, when it fell in a prairie dog hole which knocked him out temporarily. The three villains are shocked that he is alive.
What's the matter, Lopez? Seeing a few ghosts?
Me? No.
Drive on into the corral, Dave.
All right. Get in. Come on in. Yes, sir. Come on now.
I'll be seeing you three later about matters and things.
We later see a clan of Indians that Coleman negotiates for land settlement. Once again, there is another attempt by a hero to romantically persuade Miss Cameron.
I've never told Black Elk a lie yet. He knows my tongue is straight.
What do you mean?
Well, it wouldn't be true if I told him I didn't want you. It happens I do.
You've no better taste than to tell me that before all these savages.
I'd tell you that in front of the whole world.
This silly joke has gone far enough.
Next, we have Wagon scaling down the cliff. Then we have Bill Thorpe changing his plantation to California while trying to persuade Miss Cameron to move with him.
Oh. Well, if we like California better, we could sell my holding and buy vast lands out there.
Sorry about that, audience. But apparently this early talkie western needed these sounds to... What was that noise?
Why, Zeke, you lying old coot. That Injun's buying Cameron's sister for Coleman's squaw.
Well, why not? Oh, Coleman's buying himself a squaw, eh? Zeke, you old whiskered Cupid, you.
I loathe the very sight of you.
What have I done now?
You've made me the joke of the plains.
Me?
Who else tried to buy me like an Indian squaw? You put me to shame before them all.
My girl, you're imagining things.
You know where this is going, don't you? Miss Cameron. I want to go with you, Thorpe. Coleman is mean. Thorpe. Of course, honey. I'll make preparations.
I like him better than Mr. Thorpe.
Thorpe meets Red Flag in a barn. Originally planning to leave with Cameron, he instead decides to eliminate Coleman. He fails. But who killed Thorpe and saved our protagonist? This becomes public right away.
A murder. Where, girl? Who?
Coleman met Mr. Thorpe in the brush and shot him.
There's the man that shot Bill Thorpe down like a dog. Ropers, go and get a rope.
Get a rope.
Yeah, get the rope. And just who accuses me of killing Thorpe?
It was Miss Cameron.
You, eh? So you'd like to see me hanged?
This boy Coleman here just couldn't have killed Thorpe,
Why not?
because he didn't have no guns on him.
If it wasn't Coleman, who was it who shot Thorpe?
Since you're aiming to know, I'll tell you who done it.
Who?
I shot that skunk myself.
Coleman, a friend of his men. He's lying to save his...
After crossing the desert, the settlers have a little war with the Indians over land settlement. Alright. This time, I'm twice as prepared.
I guess we was just a little too much for him.
Yeah! after the settlers win the battle, they now have to combat heavy rain and terrain. Miss Cameron is stalled behind the trail, so Coleman goes back and gets her.
Hello! Hello!
Just kidding, but Ruth Cameron got the memo that Thorpe was a bad guy, and so she and Brett Coleman start to get interested in one another. Meanwhile, in the settlers' camp, things are not so hot, because they are now in a winter storm. They are not considering heading back, but Coleman makes his best speech out of the whole movie.
We're building a nation, but we've got to suffer. No great trail was ever blazed without hardship. And you gotta fight. That's life. And when you stop fighting, that's death. What are you gonna do? Lie down and die?
No, sir! Since we are in the last 15 minutes of the movie, I'll summarize it. Lopez and Flack try to kill Coleman, but it fails again. So our protagonists and a group of settlers try to capture them, but they've escaped. After the winter storm, the settlers are near their destination, but Coleman tries to bring the bad guys to justice. Before he leaves, there's a romantic scene between Cameron and our hero. Lopez and Fleck are in a bad situation, because they are in the woods in a winter storm, so Lopez ends up freezing to death. Somehow, Coleman finds his body and he is near Flack because he somehow manages to find both of them in a big forest with little possibility of finding them. Should have let him freeze to death. Anyways, our protagonist finds Flack.
Flack!
Of course, the love interest as well as the audience wonders if he made it. He makes it. For John Wayne's first major role, this was pretty decent, but it has its fair share of flaws, like the over-the-top acting by the lead villain, some slow scenes, as well as comedy scenes that have nothing to do with anything. By the way, how many were there, including the ones I already mentioned? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Well, not again!
I gotta kill me a pair of skunks.